Alright people, so first video of the sort of getting ready for Cape York trip. I was going to put a UHF in the truck. I usually just use a little handheld, but I hate UHFs for some reason. I don't know, an OCD thing or something. So anyway, I was searching eBay of all places, and now I'm not, this is by no way a paid thing from GME. I actually asked them to support the channel, they weren't interested, so I probably shouldn't even be advertising their stuff, but came up with this, because as everyone knows, I normally run a UHF, like a little handheld in the car anyway, and this kit sort of makes the UHF in cab as such, but you can still pull it out. The main thing I didn't like with the handheld was it would go flat, and that sort of stuffs up the communication. But anyway, so I bought this little kit to see how it goes. It comes with an external aerial as well, which I'm not going to use because that means then you can't pull it out of the truck as easily to use it as a UHF, a handheld. So anyway, there it is. So this powers up. I haven't wired that in yet. Holds that, and there's a magnetic thing there that holds it, so you can still pull it out. I've just got my little thing up there, so that sort of half turns it into an in-cab UHF. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I put up a photo the other night of me putting new seats in the front of the truck. There they are, people. So there, as you can see, a lot of people wanted to know how much room there was. So that's second. I can still just fit my finger there. It's not rubbing on the seat, but that's second gear. So they're out of a 2023 Hi-Ace. Now they're the commuter van things, so it's actually the driver's side seat in the back, but I've put on the passenger's side. So I've made the factory seat belt go in, so that was not a big drama. I haven't put this lap belt in because this seat's really only for the dog anyway. So that's it. I'm going to test drive it with the missus, see if she likes it, and then I will pull it out to paint everything that I put on it. So when I pull it out, I'll run through how I made it fit. Everyone wanted to see a bit of a workshop rundown. So I've got a mill, little lathe, probably need a bigger one, but it's always got me by. Bandsaw, folder, bead roller, English wheel, cut-off saw, grinder. And I do a lot of roll cages, so that's the bender for the roll cages. You'll probably notice too, we've put all pallet racking up because to get us some more space. So that's what I actually do for a living, is fabricate cars. Here's a diff that I'm building at the moment to go into the VL that's on the hoist behind me. So when I try and give you guys advice on how to do things or how to whatever, there's 5 million different experts and reasons, but I do have some qualification and knowledge in what I'm trying to explain to people. So anyway, this afternoon I'm going to get onto the toolboxes and kitchen and all that sort of jazz. So I've got all the material, it's all been cut out. It's on this pallet and that pallet up there. So I just drew up the basic shapes. I get the material just cut to size, and then I just trim it and fold it how I want it. I could normally get it laser cut exact, but I sort of change my mind as I go along. So I just get the basic shape cut out, and then I do the final bits as I'm going along, because I sort of do change my mind and I'm hopeless like that. But anyway, that's the first part. We'll get cracking onto the toolbox is going to be first, because I can fold those here. My folder, which is that little beast, it's only 1 meter wide. So the new kitchen, which is 1200 wide, the diesel tank's 1 meter wide, and the water tank's 1200 wide. They're all, the water tank's 2 mil stainless, diesel tank's 3 mil mild. So piece one, what we got there? Toolbox base, 905 by 1620. So I'd love to show you all these fancy CAD drawings of everything, but customer stuff I can actually draw up on CAD and when I got to get shit machined and that, but for my own stuff I just sort of muck around this way, and it'll give you guys a more realistic way of making shit. So that's just a little mud map of what I wanted. They're all the sizes. Now as you can see, My size says 900 by 1620. That measures 905 by 1620. So we're going to have to fudge things around a little bit because I'm not going to spend the time to cut 5mm off this edge. So it is what it is. Bit frustrating. There's actually, so they're all the main bases. So that's the base of the kitchen. That's the base of the, that's the kitchen. That's the other toolbox under there. That's the diesel tank. That's the water tank. So that's the main big section of it. And then all the doors and things that I can fold easily here are all on that pallet. So anyway, so I digress. So I'm going to mark all this out. We're going to cut some angles and jazz on it. So we'll mark it all out. I'll show you what it's going to look like, and then we'll cut it. And then I've got to move the folder, because the sheet comes out to about here. So we'll have to unbolt the folder, move it out of the wall. I don't know whether I'll have to re-bolt it down so we've got the leverage to fold the stuff, or just put my fat ass on it and we'll be right. So anyway, we will mark and cut everything out and see where we end up. So first part of the drawing, and I've already stuffed up to some extent, but this is why I do everything on the fly. So that first lip there will be 20mm. So we will end up with, say, looking at it from, say, the top, so the end, looking at it from the end, so that'll be the top of the box. We'll have a 20mm fold there and a 20mm fold there. So this little piece here is this section here, and that's what the seal will go on, that's going to seal against the door. So then that's the top of the box. Then effectively you're going to have another one down here, and that's the same corresponding spot as that, but on the other end of the box, and the box is up here. Anyway, so that's going to be the shape of the box looking at it side on. You can see it, a bit of a reflection. So that's it, 200mm this end, 450 that end. I should have made the sheet a bit wider, because then I could have folded it on here, but if we fold there, this edge then will be short, so I'll end up going to have to now just trim that straight off, fold that separately and weld it to this bottom edge, which not a big deal. You know, honestly, when you're doing it at home or whatever, it's probably easier to weld bits together than try and work all the angles out. So the other thing when you're doing it, you've got to allow for whatever thickness the material is to do with your folds. So if you notice on here, I want a 20mm step. So I've measured the inside, like if you look at that, that line is 2mm thick and this material is 3mm thick. So if I fold it on the that's why there's little arrows, the outside edge, from that edge to there is 20mm, which is what I'm after. If I went on the inside of the edge, I didn't account for the 3mm, you could end up with a 23mm or a 17mm lip. So always pay attention when you're working out your sizes that way. So I'll explain a little bit better what I'm talking about, that if I fold it here, this will be too short. So we measure this, okay, that's 790mm. We measure what's left of the sheet from the same point, 750mm. So if I was just to fold this, so work out the measurement, so at the end of the day that line would follow right down. This side would be 40mm too short. But when you look at the sheet, I got way more than 40mm there. So that's why I'll have to lop that off there, fold this as one piece, fold that as one piece. Frustrating, but it is what it is. Alright, so first cutout done. We're going to fold this fold first, purely so I don't have to unbolt the bender off the floor. So we're going to fold this one, and then we still should be able to fit this in and do the lip for the seal, which will become very apparent in a minute. So that's sort of the side view of how big the toolbox is going to be. So yeah, there's others out there that are way bigger, but I'm still trying to, you know, not sacrifice too much clearance in the tracks. Anyway, this is still a fair bit bigger than the old toolboxes anyway, and that's how deep the toolbox is. So you're going to fit a lot of shit in it when it's that deep, but that's the footprint, if that makes sense. So another spanner in the works. The folder's not strong enough, even with two of us hanging off it, to bend, you know, 900 wide through here out of 3mm gal. So I'll have to bend. I've got my mate's teed up to bend up the big boxes, so everything I think over sort of 500-600mm. I'll have to use his folder for. So we'll just finish cutting everything out and get ready to go down to his folder next week. Bit of a pity, but it is what it is. Alright, so a little bit bummed that we can't show you on this folder how to make it. We're going to call this one the door, and that's the box, because I'm not sure whether my mate's going to be too keen for me to film there, so we'll just do it here. So what the door is going to end up in, so the edge of the door is going to have to fold like that, right? So then you've got this piece, which is the box, is going to come up here, it's going to fold like that, and then up into here. Does that make sense? And that's where your seal is, here. So you've got to fold the door like that, and you've got to fold the box like that. So I'm just going to use the end of this bit of thing, and I'll make a door, and the end of this one, and I'll make a box, just so we can explain how it all works. So generally this is 20mm. See that? So generally that's 20mm. This little lip here is going to be 10mm. That's 20mm. That one there is 20, and that one there is 20. So the first up on the door, we'll scribe 10mm. Usually I do it off the edge of the bench, so we'll just come this way a little bit. You see the edge of the bench? Yeah. So a trick for you, set it up at 10mm, and then you can just hang it off the bench, run it along. That's the first fold. So then all the other folds are going to be 20mm, so we're just going to mark that. So I'll fold that one first at 10mm, and then we're going to fold this one at 20mm. Alright, now, as I said before, remember I said the line, so arrow meaning far side of the line. So we'll go and fold these two, and then we'll mark it again and fold the other two. Alright, so fold on the door. Alright. So now first fold on the box. First fold on the box, so you can see two different lengths. Alright, we'll go mark the next one, come back, and we'll fold it. Alright, so next fold. They're going to be opposite. So this one has to fold again this way, this one has to fold opposite. So we need to come down what you can do, because we want it to be 20mm from the outside. Make sense? Do we? Yeah, we do. So 20mm. Draw a line. Double check that measurement. It's 17mm. Right, so that means now I've got to fold this side of the line, because we need that to be 20mm. So then we're going to come, this one's got to fold opposite, and that'll make sense in a minute. So you add 3, so you effectively, well, you don't have to, it depends on which side of line you get, but for my peace of mind, so this line will be 23. 23 mil because I've added the thickness of the material. Yeah? And then if you really want, just mark across it. Then you can check your measurement again. So I need to fold on the inside of the line. So we're just going to draw this just so you guys can see. I don't normally mark the inside. So you measure that, get this end that starts there. See, that is 20 to the inside of the line. Alright, so now we'll go and fold them. Like that. So that's a Z shape. Actually, I've bent that one a little bit. Anyway, that'll give you an idea. So what we now have is that shape and that shape. So it's gonna, the door is gonna close over like that, and the seal is gonna be on this piece that seals. Excuse my shaky hands. But yeah, that'll go in there, and that's how it seals. Make sense, everyone? Good. So you just got to picture all that on these bigger pieces. All right, so first hurdle of the day. When I showed you the first part of the video, that's sort of what the fold was. So we were looking for like 20 mil and 20 mil. And that's what all my sort of measurements were around. When we were over at Darren's, his folder, so this part of his folder, which is what comes up and folds, is 25 mil. So that meant that the minimum we could do is 25 mil. So now subsequently we have a bigger step here, which isn't the end of the world, but we just tried to fold. Now I don't know what I did with the piece. So we just tried to fold a piece in my folder using the same measurements that we did on Darren's. Here we are. I'm useless at putting shit down and not remembering where it went. So this fold was 17 mil. This fold was 25, well, it was hard up against the blade on the machine. So that fold was what it was, and that was it. So anyway, so we did the same measurements in my folder, and as you can see, mine does a tighter fold, which is not the end of the world, but it don't line up. So we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to modify the 2 dimensions so that we get it to line up. Mine does a tighter fold than his does, which is that's not the end of the world. So that's the first little hurdle to overcome, change the measurements for our folder. So trick to you all, if you're going to, generally, I mean it's a general rule anyway, if you're making something you try and use the same machines the whole way through, because different machines, different brands, everything do things differently. So it's definitely not a whingy thing, it was more of a educational thing for you guys to see that what the difference can be. So anyway, so that's the first hurdle. So I'm going to cut a few little bits more scrap and just change some measurements, fold it again, and when we get it right we'll get cracking into the important bits. first stage of the folding here done. So there are all the bits you would have seen on the bench. So there's two toolboxes, kitchens, toolboxes, whatever. So now what we need to do, because we need to weld it all together, that obviously doesn't fit. So we're going to 45 and 45 these so that they fit, and then they'll make the complete boxes. So next job, lots of grinding, angle grinding to cut 45-degree angles on everything. Not going to be overly exciting, but it is what it is. So first toolbox tucked up. So I'm thinking about putting a shelf so level with here up to here. So it'll be 200mm down. This is the edge. It's a bit hard to say. This is the edge that'll go against the tray as such. So anyway, one toolbox tucked up. We take the other one up, and then the kitchen, and then we'll work out what we're doing from there. So another little trick for those that want to have a crack at them themselves. Ideally you want to weld it, it's a bit hard to show, edge to edge. You don't want the edges to overlap, so you want to edge to edge it. So I'll set this one up, give you a little idea, but a trick to doing it is put another piece of plate on the bench, sits flat, so then you can sit this panel on this bit of plate and it'll hold it up so that you can weld edge to edge. So when I say edge to edge, if we look at that edge, see it's, I don't know if the camera really shows it, but you know, the inside edge and inside edge, so you end up with a fillet to fill this section. That's what edge to edge is. Not like if it was overlapping like that, you've got to weld down the actual flat material. So you want to try and have it edge to edge like that, so you've got something to weld into. So anyway, so a trick to do that is put that on there, then that holds this piece up flat with that edge. See how it sort of slides over? So therefore you know that you'll be edge to edge when you tack it. I think that might show the edge to edge thing I'm talking about a little bit better. Now also, gal is shit to weld, so I'm only tacking it up today, but when you go to weld it, it is quite, I don't know what the word is, dangerous, shit, whatever. So generally try and wear a respirator if you're welding gal. I mean, this day and age they try and make you wear a respirator for everything, but gal, the fumes is noxious, I think it's maybe the word. So yeah, disclaimer, generally try and weld some sort of respirator if you're going to be doing a lot of gal welding, and try and grind most of the gal off where you're welding before you weld it. That's also another handy tip. Anyway, we'll get back into it. So next piece of the puzzle is the new kitchen. So those that follow me would have noticed that the last kitchen's had a fair bit of love over the last few trips. So we're redesigning this one, so it's 100mm shorter this way, it's 200mm longer this way. It's the same depth, but because it's shorter this way, we're going to move it in under the tray 100mm. So effectively this corner of the thing will be 100mm higher and 100mm further, 150mm further in. So, and the other, I'll take you out and show you in a sec, but the other one, all these uprights, the other one was made out of 3mm Ali and it's just not strong enough. So, not saying that this one will be bulletproof. At the end of the day, it's an 8-ton truck, so if it's going to bend it, it's going to bend it anyway. So these were all bolted in on the last one. So everywhere there's a bolted something can move, blah blah blah. So I'm actually going to weld all these uprights in this way this time, and hopefully I don't know if it's in my head, it's going to add some rigidity. It may not do absolutely anything and a waste of time, but I think I can get it a bit more accurate if I weld everything in rather than bolting and relying on holes. So I'm going to take you out and show you what I have in mind compared to the other kitchen. This is the old kitchen. Alright, so from what I said, this will be 100mm up here. This edge is going to then come to about here. So the spare tire is going on the back because I'm actually going to put a fridge here, because as shown in the start of the video, I put a bench seat back in. Anyway, so what's going to be different about this one, we're still going to reuse these drawers. So all my measurements for the new kitchen has to still work around these drawers and stuff. So it's going to be a little bit of a fiddle. So this was the door, obviously, on the other one. So we used to have a hole, this slide out. So that obviously slid out. The wooden chopping board's not there. So that was our workbench, okay? That takes up 60mm of this height, all right? So what we're doing this time is the door is going to hinge off the bottom now. That's going to be the workbench. So whilst the kitchen's going to be 100mm shorter this way, upwards, we're not losing a huge amount of space, because that is then going to become the workbench. So a big bit of wood put in there, blah blah blah. This going in the bins, fucking useless. They're a waste of time. So that's going to free us up. I'll have to make another shelf. So effectively, coffee machine will probably stay roughly where it is. So all these uprights, the 3 uprights that I just showed you inside, are going to have to go in the exact same spot, so we can make all that. The extra space we got at this end, we're going to make a double width pantry to put more food in. Because we're going to get rid of this, we'll have another drawer like that. So those 4 drawers, and then effectively a full shelf going right across. So those 4 drawers and that shelf, I think, is enough storage. We survived with that quite alright, and then we'll just end up with a double width or more double width pantry. That's the plan at the moment. So we're going to do some measuring, and hopefully that'll work. So that's the plan. Good luck with it. So, and as I said, I want to reuse the drawers we've already made. So there's going to be some very precise measuring to go on here. Anyway, we'll get back into it. It'll start to make sense soon, but that's the difference between the 2 kitchens. Now all this shit, as I said previously, is 3mm gal sheet. I'm not sure why I went with the gal. I think it was just so that if it gets all scratched up, it's not going to rust so easily. And like inside the toolboxes, you're going to throw shit in there left, right and centre, and you know that's going to wear a lot better. But it's going to be a pain in the ass to weld, so I may have just bitten off. Yeah, I don't know. That's what it is. Deal with it. So here we are is the 3 uprights you sort of would have seen at the shelves. So that one's got to move, that one, then this one here, and then so I'm going to go do all the measuring. We'll sit these in here and we'll work out how much space we've got left, and then we'll go from there, whether we move everything up and move the coffee machine down here or whatever, I don't know. But the 3 bay measurements have to be the same so that those shelves all fit in nicely. So morning all. So I think this is day, realistically this is probably day 2. We've done little bits and pieces during other days, but 2 full days of getting ready. So the shittiest part of the job is probably finished, I would say. So the 2 new toolboxes are welded up and all lineaged back, ready for still deciding what I'm going to do as far as a shelf goes in them. So they'll just go in the corner for the minute. We'll get onto the kitchen and the water tank, diesel tank, all that sort of jazz. So there's the templates for the doors for the toolboxes, 1 and 2. So when my good buddy Darren's free, we'll go down and guillotine those out and fold them in his folder, because as we know, mine's not strong enough. So the kitchen, we've sort of dummied it up, but we're going to put it on hold at the moment because Lady Princess doesn't like the coffee machine. We've got I think it's a Nescafe Dolce some rubbish. I don't drink coffee, so it means jack shit to me. But the issue is it takes the little pods. Now, I do like hot chocolate, and you can't get hot chocolate pods for this unless you buy them overseas and then get them shipped over, which is very odd. I don't understand why more men in this country don't drink hot chocolate. But anyway, so hang on, I'll show you what one it is. Whilst it was the smallest at the time, so it fitted in this kitchen really well, but we've now realized it's shit. So yeah, so it's a Nescafe so obviously, like many of them, the pods go in there, but also like many of them, the pods seem to be brand specific. So yeah, so we ain't going to use that one. So until she decides what one she wants to use, I'm not going to finalize anything in the kitchen, because it could make a big difference as to the spacing of the drawers and everything. So kitchen will go on hold. I'm going to get stuck into the diesel tank today, so back to the truck. I think I've explained it all to you before, but just in case the new people don't understand, or don't, well, it's not they don't understand, wouldn't have seen it. So with the caravan conversion being what it is, oh, that only just cleared. We have this big gap here between there and there for the caravan. So what is going to happen is that is 300 mil, or 275 I think to be exact. So I'm making two 250 litre tanks that'll go up to, see where that black's around, that black thing is, so sort of that height, the full width. So we'll end up with, on the far side, we'll end up with 200 litres of diesel, and this side, we'll end up with 300 litres of water. Now ideally, you'd like to separate the diesel, big deal, 200 litres, 200 litres. The water I would have liked to have separated into two tanks, just in case one, for whatever reason, shits itself. But that ain't going to happen. So the tanks are made out of three. The diesel tank, which will be that one, that's 3mm steel, and that's 3mm stainless. So, you know, realistically, as long as I'm pretty good with the welder, they should be right. So what I'm going to do, I'll start on the diesel tank today. So we're going to just make a couple of baffles to go inside it to give it a bit of rigidity. I'm not so fussed about them being surge baffles, so that it stops the diesel floating around. It's 200 litres in a 12-ton truck, so it's not really going to move the truck around, I don't think. So yeah, same with the water tank. We'll do those. I'll show you how I'm going to do them. So they'll just be folded up, plug welded into the tank. So that's going to be today's job. So we'll put the toolboxes back up on the shelf, and they'll stay up there until I work out what I want to do with the shelves, and the doors will get folded up. But ideally, if all goes well, it's the, I don't even know what date it is today. It's like the 6th or 7th, I think, of August. Let me have a look. No, it's the 10th of August. So ideally, I want all this ready to be put on the truck next weekend. So we're Saturday now, so I've got 7 days to finish the toolboxes, finish the water tank, finish the diesel tank, and finish the kitchen, plus work. So, you know, getting ready, this ready isn't my full-time job. I actually have to work for a living. So anyway, that's where we are. I'm going to start waffling and get stuck into it. Just as a bit of a fun fact too, because this whole GVM crap, our GVM rules and shit leave a lot to be desired. So that's going to be a whole video one day on what I think of this whole GVM upgrade crap that all these other workshops and people keep dreaming about. But anyway, so just as a general thing, the truck as it sits there now, weighs 7.8 tonnes. So that's with the caravan, the 395s, the winches front and rear, all the batteries, 400 amp hour batteries, what else? Whatever. As the truck sits, it weighs 7.8 tonne, right? So all the materials to make the 2 toolboxes, the kitchen, so this is without hinges and latches and all that, so that's going to obviously change a little bit. But all the materials to make everything that I'm about to fit to the truck came in at 368 or 78 kilos. I should have checked that, shouldn't I? But anyway, let's just call it 370 kilos. So all the material here is 370 kilos, and that's before we fill them. So you're going to have 5. So what we're doing now is probably the best part of another tonne. So that's going to take my truck up to near 9 tonnes. Still well under its GVM, but just a few people ask regularly how much it weighs and what this weighs and blah blah blah. So with everything I'm doing now, by the time I fill everything, it's probably going to be another tonne on top of the truck. So put that into your calculations, GVM people. Alright, so I'll show you a little trick here. So that's gone past 90 degrees. This is a baffle for the fuel tank, right? So I've accidentally folded it a little bit past 90 degrees. So what you do, if you've got to have a decent solid bench, you try and put it back in the folder and it'll just warp it here, and it's just too hard, you don't do it. So get yourself a decent hammer, put it on the edge of your bench, a bit like that. And then you don't have to flog it, you've only got to give it a couple of hits. And before you know it, you're back to 90 degrees. So just a little hit, that when you do overbend stuff, it's not the end of the world. So I've jumped forward a couple of stages because the camera went flat and I didn't want to wait. So I've drilled marked out and drilled the holes. There's 3 holes for each plate. That one's got a weight in the middle, which I'll explain in a minute. So yeah, with the holes, make sure you drill a big enough hole that you can get a lot of heat into it to join the 2 bits together. So there's the back 2 baffles, which actually will be the bottom 2 baffles, the way the tank sits. So that's those 2, and then the other 2 will fill in these holes. So I've just got some heavy weights off my press to hold it all, so that we can keep it all flat and get a decent weld in. So we'll weld them in. And then that'll be the end of part 1, really. It's just rinse and repeat for the water tank. So there's no point in me just boring you to tears. We're doing exactly the same thing. So that's how I'm making the tanks. And again, just because I do it one way doesn't mean it's the only way. And a lot of my stuff that I do is geared around the equipment that I've got. So, you know, some people will say, oh, that baffle should just be 1 piece. And you know what, in a perfect world, maybe it should. But with the folder I've got and wanting to do most of it myself, you're stuck with it. So anyway, we'll keep going. I'll weld all these in, and that'll be the end of this part. Stay tuned for part 2.